Hey guys, welcome back to People Bring Profits, our great little podcast right here. So, hey, we've been focusing on some things, and again, we told our story. Now it's time to tell our story. Like we told the company story, now it's tell our personal story. So, I guess it's my turn today. So, today's episode is going to be who are we? And it's important that each person that's watching this podcast, that downloads this podcast, really knows who myself is, who Kimberly is, and who Justin is, and the house that built us. And today is mine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're up.
It's me up. Okay. So it's important that we share this because, again, as we put this podcast out here, we're doing this to try to give back. We're doing this to try to show others that there's no wrong way, right way. Right? We've made mistakes. We've hit some home runs, but this is how we did it. This is how we built this company and how we continue to grow. So it's kind of important how we share that. So today it's me. So here we go. Chris Olexa. Let's see. I started out as a young kid. My mom and dad divorced when I was younger. I still remember that day when that happened. I kind of grew up with my mother. I had one brother, I guess we're called half brothers, because separate dads, same mother. My dad he worked a lot, so wasn't around the house a lot. I did spend weekends with him every other weekend. Great father with that part of it. Mother was a loving mother, was awesome, for me, man. But I didn't grow up in the home that everybody dreams of, right? Lived in multiple houses. My mother I've had many stepdads that we can count. I think she was married 5 times. Did have some abuse issues with alcohol and things. Lived in some very, very bad neighborhoods that you definitely didn't walk around at night. So just kind of grew up that way, and just grew up at a young age knowing that I wanted to be something. I did not want to live that life. Even watching my mom, drink alcohol and be that way. I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't drink alcohol in high school. I remember going with you on dates, and we'd go to parties, and I'd bring a Dr. Pepper because that was the cool to drink for myself back then. But I just always had
Don't be throwing me under the bus now. My family's going to be watching
Yeah,
this.
true.
They did not realize that I had alcohol before I was 21.
You drank Dr. Pepper with me too. So those are high school days, right? Those are the good days when that was actually not as a bad thing to do because it wasn't so bad back then.
Yeah.
But I guess growing up, man, I just witnessed stuff in my life that I did not want to ever see.
Wow, so you grew up real fast.
Yes. And just, understanding what money and what it took to, my mom was on food stamps. I still remember the day going grocery shopping and being so embarrassed when we'd get up there and seeing her tear those little things off. Nothing bad about that. Some people need that. And it's a trophy for me, right? It's not a bad thing. So, I think that's what started with me, man. It's just, I just always noticed that I wanted to do something different. I started working at a younger age. I remember going to Walmart, applying, lying on my application and saying I was 16 because you had to be 16 to work there. And that was the day of the punch cards. Yeah. So, you didn't have these digital computers, like you do now. So it took like a couple of pay periods for my social security number to catch up with my date of birth. I remember the manager calling me and said, Chris, how old are you? And I can't lie. My kids pick on me. Dad, you're lying. And I remember 15. Yeah. And he said, hey, you get us in trouble, man. You got to be 16 to work here. And I was like, oh, am I in trouble? He said, no, but just come back in 3 weeks. And that's when you turn 16, you can work. So I started working at a young age. And I remember getting my paychecks and cash in it and giving my mom half of what I had made. I still remember that to this day, just to help her pay bills, and another trophy for me. But then it go to my high school days. I growing up now, going to Little League sports and stuff. Nothing against my mom and dad. They both, my dad was busy doing his thing, and my mom was busy, of course, doing other things. But I remember, getting a ride in the back of a truck to Little League practice. I remember getting out of baseball games and Little League and sitting on the curb waiting for somebody to pick me up. And not a bad thing. I was never depressed about that. Never thought something's wrong with my life. I just remembered I don't want to be that way with my kids. And, high school football games. I remember, parent night, Mom, can you show up, please? It's senior night. Can you be here? It's parent night kind of thing. And just remember those days and coming off the football field, I didn't have the support there. I didn't have, somebody there to tell me, hey, you did good, you did bad. again, I didn't get depressed about it. It didn't make me go, mental crazy about it.
I've only known you the past 4 years, but I mean, you're at every single waking moment for your family and your kids, and
Yeah.
I mean, you're a part of everything. So you've paid that back, and it's turned you into a resilient man, and being a part of that. So sorry to interrupt.
No,
but
it's a trophy, Justin. It is, and Kim laughs at me because watching my kids grow up in sports, and when the game ended, when the games end in high school, parents go down to the fence and they wait and take pictures with the kids. Kim would laugh at me because it would be like 5 minutes left. And I'm going down. I'm getting my chair. I'm folding up. Kim goes, just let him go. He likes to be the first there.
Yeah.
And I want to be there for my kids, and just to let them know that. And I've learned that. And it's just one of those trophies, man, that built me. So, man, just growing up in high school, this is a pivotal moment for me. So when I went to high school, I wasn't a great student. When I remember meeting Kim, we'd walk down the hall. I would say. She's like, oh, I hope I made an A in that test. I'm like, oh, I hope I made a 69.7.
I hope I passed.
So it just rounds to 7. Yeah. So I continued to play football and sports and things. But I remember this one point in my life when I was always in the principals. I wasn't a bad student. I just kind of fought a lot and just took up for myself and maybe show up to class late. Kind of things, maybe miss school a lot. Yeah. So I remember going to the principal's office one time, and it was for some incident that happened, and I was sitting in the conference room, and his white chalkboard was on the door wall, and they had a bunch of names on it. And I saw the title at the top that they wrote, and I knew what it meant. But I asked the principal, there's like 5 kids around, principal, vice principal, counselor, whatever. I was like, hey, why is my name on the board? They're like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this incident that happened in the parking lot. Who did this? It wasn't me, but why is my name on the board? And he said, well, you know what? That's the dropout list. I was like, dropout list? He said, yeah, we categorize kids. We think you're going to be a dropout. Why do you think I'm going to drop out? Well, because you're not a good student. Well, why am I not a good student? And immediately I knew that they were judging me because society told them that I was probably going to drop out. Because I didn't have a good mother. I didn't have a family that supported me. I didn't have rules at home. I didn't have a curfew. I would never did homework. And I barely passed. And at that point right there, I remember seeing that, and that sticks in my main brain. And like, watch this. I'm going to prove to you all wrong, that I am going to be somebody special in life. Meeting Kim in my life, I remember Kim, coming in my life. We're high school sweethearts. Yeah. Let's say that. And that I knew Kim in 8th grade, and man, she was.
Did Kim know you?
8th grade, she did not. I sat right beside her in computer class. Still to this day, I tell her all the time, God, you were like sitting right beside me, and it's like just stare at her. And she's like, I don't even remember you in that class. I'm like, oh, that's so bad. Remember, I was offensive lineman, so at that time, she was dating the quarterback. So
I didn't know.
Head cheerleader dating the quarterback. It's just one of those things. So, a pivotal moment in my life is when. We started hanging around together, and a friend of mine started kind of introducing her to me. I knew her already. But then I remember when we started going out, and she told me, hey, if I'm going to date you, what church do you go to? So, I don't go to church. She said, well, for me to date you, you got to go to church. I was like, oh, well, heck yeah, to date a girl like that, I'll go to church with you every Sunday. So she introduced me to the Lord. And every Sunday I had to go to church with her and her grandmother. And it was an awesome, changing moment for me, too, that really introduced me to God and how important He is in my life and how He leads me. And all this stuff in the past was really just building me up. So, so graduated from high school, barely. Graduated late, a year late from high school because I didn't have the grade still. Kim signed me up for college and went to college for about a year. I think I passed health.
Yeah, or a semester. I'm not sure.
A semester. I don't know. I think I did a semester. But again, there's no pictures in the books.
There's no pictures.
No pictures. And I didn't have the money, man. I didn't have the money because I was supporting myself. Mm-hmm. And my mom wasn't paying, and just didn't have the means of doing it. But I started working young, and just in building myself. I used to watch people, drive past me in nice cars, dress nicely, live nicely, have nice homes that they didn't have to worry about going home at night. And I just always said, I want that. I want those. I want that kind of life. I want that kind of car. I want that kind of boat. I just wanted that life.
Ambitions, yeah.
Ambitions, it just drove me. It was my trophies. And I think society's changing people these days to say it's You don't want to escalate. No, want that escalate, because if you can escalate, hopefully you can give a lot back to communities and help others and donate. And so the more you make, the more you can give. At that point in life, it's what kind of changed me and really what built me up. And me and Kim kind of grew up in life, and I just always worked. I started working at a grocery store when I was Walmart. Then I went to a grocery store. I started, at that time during high school, I was working at a, delivering groceries to a car. And I realized really quickly to talk to people. The more you talk to people, the more they tipped you. And I was like, wow. So I said the same story, I don't know, 10 times. Hey, how's the weather today? It's supposed to rain
today.
And, the lady would give me 50 cents. And it's just like, man, I had $5 at the end of the day. It's like, this is really good. Back then, that was great. Mm-hmm. So I realized that. And then I started working for a furniture store. And I realized then I had a gift to gab a little bit, because I realized when I was delivering this furniture, it was a solid wood furniture store. We'd deliver these big, heavy entertainment centers. We'd deliver them up these stairs. And the manager, the owner at the time, came back and said, man, you're really good with people. You're always talking to people, and they always give you great compliments when they tell us how your delivery went. I was like, well, Clint, we carried this 500-pound entertainment center upstairs, and I convinced them that the scratch on it is supposed to be there, and it looks great. Gives you character. It's solid wood. That's a lightning strike or something, and it's to keep me from having to carry it back downstairs. So that was a good point. But that was another person in my life that kind of built me too, because at the time the owner, he was a younger guy, had a young family. He was a little league coach to his kids. Had a great family life, great house, beautiful cars, and he was the owner of this business. And he came to work when he wanted to. He dressed how he wanted to, and so I kind of watched him. And I just always looked at him. And that's one thing I always do. And you said this too. We all say this. I kind of always look at people and judge them. Like, okay, how do they dress? How do they look? What do they drive? How do they talk to people? What do I like and what don't I like?
Yeah.
And I took this person. It's like making the best recipe. Take this person, the good. Take the bad out of this. You don't want that. So that's how I did. And I watched him and I said, man, I want to be like this guy one day. And I kind of got moved up in the company from a delivery driver to being a salesman. Remember, he asked me to be a salesman, but and I thought, I'd love this. It gives me an opportunity to kind of grow in the business. And it became a salesman selling this furniture store, again, knowing that, hey, the more I talk to these people, the more they buy and the more commission I make. And again, I said, hey, this is awesome. And I kind of just, no education, but just a drive and desire. I got a promotion. He's like, man, you're really good at talking to people. You're really good. And I always set the store up. It was always, once a month I would change where the tables were, where the bookcases were. Because I have an envision of what it kind of looks like, and kind of decorating too. Because it's like, hey, put this plant over here, put this chair over here, kind of thing. And it understood that in business, in the furniture business, so you kind of change things up, makes it look different. So he asked me one day, he said, hey, would you like to manage the store? Now, it's going to be a front of the house management, not the business side, but the front, like ordering and scheduling the people. So, I'd love to. Never a promotion. So I did that, kind of ran the store for a couple of years, and proud to say that store, I felt like when I took it over, we grew and doubled in size and sales, and was really good at what I did. And then that's me and Kim always had ambition, and we got married. We had a drive to always open our own business.
Yeah.
I think you really pushed me. You was like, hey, what's your goals in life? I said, I want my own business, and I want to too. And that was our goal in life. And then I remember after, I made a promise to her when we got married. It said, what are you going to do with your life? Because you always challenge me, you always push me. And now everybody needs that in their life. Everybody needs somebody to really push them and help them get to where they get. And you always said, hey, you always promised me that you're going to do something with your life than be a furniture salesman. And so me and Kim started shopping around, man, and started looking for furniture for franchise concepts, and going to the bookstore. And we bought into our first one called Quiznos.
Yeah.
Boy, did they make a good sub back then.
Oh, they did. I hear they're making a comeback. Somebody told me the other day.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
I wish they'd come right back here in Southeast Texas.
Yeah, and so we bought our first Quiznos. It took a lot of. Luckily, with Kim's past, she had saved up a little bit of money, and it's an important thing. You got to have money to make money. And when we bought our first Quiznos, I remember we applied for Buffalo Wild Wings first.
Yeah, we did.
That was a big thing for us. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings on a trip to Houston. Me and Kim fell in love with it. this is right when we were looking for like a concept, and we're like, man, we could do this. We were dreaming. We were just so in love with this place. It was in Houston, Rice Village. Sat there, man, it was packed out. It was our first true experience of a Buffalo Wild Wings. Line out the door, you were at the counter, man, big tall beers. It was just the coolest thing ever. So we applied for that place, and they granted us the right. We had no money. Yeah. It's just a little bit saved. No experience in this business. So Kim, being the smart person she is, like, hey, maybe we should start smaller, and grow and start with the Quiznos. And that's where we kind of started at. Yeah. Yeah. And so we got into Quiznos. Kim was being a nurse. We opened our first Quiznos. Again, this is where it starts, guys. I worked every day. I opened that store, closed that store every day, and learned the business. And then Kim, we had decided to open a second store. She quit her job of being a nurse. You're going to learn a lot more of Kim on her bio. She started working at the second Quiznos. As we did that, we decided to go back to Buffalo Wild Wings, apply for Buffaloes. And so we sold both of our Quiznos and bought our first Buffaloes and sunk all that money back into that. Kind of went broke again because Buffaloes wasn't as popular as it is now. Yeah. Built it in our hometown, and again worked every day. And it was a struggle because this business is tough, and that time we were starting a young family. But I want to fast forward to some pivotal moments in my life. In that time, I worked every day, and Kim was trying to stay home and raise our kids that we had. And when we got to that point, she always says, you're working too hard, you're missing life, you're missing our kids' life, we're missing our relationship. And God taught me another lesson at that point. I remember one day I came home, and Kim said, I got a knot in my neck. And Kim was like, made a kind of a joke being a nurse, and you might have lymphoma.
Oh, I remember where we were sitting at.
Yes.
When you at the table, we were in a rent house. And you said, Kim, feel this knot in my neck. I've had this knot, and I just felt it. And I'm like, it's probably lymphoma. Yeah. Just kidding. Yeah. But you had that instinct, and you pursued the knot.
Well, because you said that to me. So for months, I went to many doctors and local doctors. Oh, you got just an ear infection or got something, an infection, a cold.
We treated you for mono,
all kind of stuff.
Antibiotics.
And but God just always kept knocking on my door. But again, I want to go back and say this, that is because Kim was telling me to slow down in life. We had opened a couple of Buffaloes at the time. We were on our actually fourth Buffaloes at the time. And I was so focused in business and, just trying to build the company. And I was forgetting what's important in life. And that's my family. And what's important that I got to, be there, not just be there for the company. And so when come to find out, after a lot of tests, finally talked somebody into doing a biopsy, and come to find out it was, follicular lymphoma. I was diagnosed with that, and Kim sent me to the best hospital in the world, MD Anderson, and was treated for that. And 6 months of rounds of chemo. Got pasty white, hair fell out. Hope nobody ever shows that bald-headed picture. But yeah, that's where I kind of started at. And with that walk, and it showed me that God told me to slow down a little bit and enjoy life and understand there's more importance. It's just growth. It's what my vision is for you. So, I think that's what changed me too, dramatically changed my wife with Kimberly, how we kind of look at things. Went through that walk. I remember opening Port Arthur, Buffalo Wild Wings.
You're sitting here saying slow down, but you've always been you've always been pushing hard, man. Getting chemo, opening up Port Arthur. It was slowing down in your world because you work so fast. But man, chemo in Port Arthur.
Chemo in Port Arthur. I had my chemo bag on, and we opened the Port Arthur store. And I remember the training unit, the training team was there, and Mitchell Kelly was there and saying, dude, you don't need to be here. I said, you crazy. This is my store opening. I need to support my team. I need to show them that I'm here for them. And I remember opening lunch, and then I'd go sleep in the truck because I was so tired because that chemo make you tired. And I'd get up and work at dinner, and Kim would like, when are you coming home? But she knew that was what I liked to do, and that was what our give back and into the company to show if they're going to do it, we're going to do it. So but again, it kind of changed my life, and it's kind of what built me, man. It's kind of what drove me to do what I want to do, and it shows me that that's a trophy for me. Back then, it was very depressing to me, but it's what drove me, and it's what made who I am today. And I go back to that 2 moments that I kind of go back and kind of think what the house that built me. And I, at that time, you talked about sports. I was coaching Little League football because that was my dream, Little League baseball. And I think I was pretty good at it because we used to win a lot of games. And, but I remember those moments that it's important because when you talk about the isms, that's what kind of taught me. And we won a lot of Little League football. I love football. And we won a lot of games, and we coached some great kids. They're, out in college right now. They're playing some great football. But that's what taught me. I'd go a season 9-1 and make it to they call the Super Bowl or what. But I never focused on wins. I'd always focus on a loss. I always go back and watch the game in my mind, in my head. Why did I lose that game? Mm-hmm. What did I do wrong? I should have did this. I shouldn't have did that. And that's where I focus on. I never focused on the wins. I always focused on the losses. And I think that's what kind of really changed who I am today also, because that's how I built myself, in those games. But as life goes forward, you got to take, and that's where this comes from, into the storm. I don't have that shirt on today, but that's one of our mottos, and that's been a mine and Kim's motto for years. Yeah. Into the storm of a Buffaloes, and when you focus on that, we've had many a storms in our life, and it could be personal, it could be business. That you, instead of running from it, you run towards it and go through it quicker. I'm experiencing that now in life again. I mean, I thought, okay, I'm 12 years clean from my cancer, and I have to go every year for the kind of cancer treatment or cancer that I had. I was told Kim said it's stuck in my head. I was told a long time ago, it's not if, it's when it comes back. And so 12 years clean in April of cancer, of my lymphoma. But again, God has a way of showing you things, and it's a miracle kind of my life. I had some pain somewhere. I thought I had a kidney stone, and it wasn't a kidney stone. They checked that out. Then they thought it was a gallstone, checked that out. But during all these CAT scans, they luckily they found this spot in my bladder. And was it 6 weeks ago? Yeah. About 8 weeks ago now. Yeah. About 8 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. Mm-hmm. And Kim asked me, and a lot of people asked me, how do you do it? How do you do it? And it's like, it's into the storm. You just got to face it. But was blessed that I had surgery, exploratory surgery, and they found out that it was a tumor, and they removed it as I was sleeping. And but we caught it really early. Even the doctors were surprised how early we caught it, because God was knocking on my, like, hey, it's you got a pain, but it's not here, it's really here, because there was no symptoms. But so I was diagnosed again with bladder cancer, so 2-time cancer. I pick on my family a lot, say, hey, I got cancer again. You got to make fun of that kind of stuff, but it's what builds you and what makes you, and enjoy your life as you're here, and the time you have with your family, but keep growing and keep pushing ahead. So that kind of sums it up, who I am. There's a lot more to it, but this just kind of skims across the top. I don't want to bore too many people with it. But again, what I want to push out to people is, just because you don't have a college education, please go do it. I tell my kids, go do it, because it makes it a lot easier. As I sit on these big boards and go to these big meetings with a lot of highly educated people, sometimes I say the wrong words, say them when I shouldn't say that one, should have said this one. But that's okay. That's who I am.
That's right.
That's who I am.
Genuine, real, heart on your sleeve. Yeah. You've got the experience to back up being in those rooms. That's what people want. They want authenticity and realness. And that's what you're going to get with Chris all the time.
Yeah,
and you will.
That's your drive.
That's me, and and that's me. That's a trophy. Yeah. Everything that's happened in my life is not a negative. It's a positive, right? I look at those things just like trophies on the wall. I take them down like you do in the old days. You look at, I remember when I played this, or I remember that. That's trophies in my life that a lot of people could make negatives, because it's what drove me. That name on the board could have ruined my life, right? I could have dropped out from school and just been a nomad. But no, God had a different plan for me, and I had a plan for myself, and that was to be successful. And I think that's where I want to teach people today. And when I go to high schools and talk to kids need to go to college. But if you cannot, I couldn't. Wasn't built that way. Mm-hmm. That doesn't define who you're going to be. You can be a business owner just like I am. You could be the most successful person that you want to be, but it has to determine with you. You has to be what you want to be. And now it's not going to be given to you. You got to work for it.
You got to aspire to be better every single day. That's what you did in your own journey.
You got to see the vision at what you want to be and go for it and don't quit. And you're going to fail. You're going to fail many a times. Just fail forward, as we say in our company. So I want to, don't let society dictate who you are. And don't let other people tell you what you're going to be one day. Show them all wrong. I love it that I get to see principals and teachers, and they look at me and still scratch their heads like, and I look at it, it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing what a human being, that God's created our mind and heart and soul to really want what you want and go get it. And this country is the greatest country in the world.
Absolutely.
Please do not let the media tell you it's not. Our Constitution's a great Constitution. It's just a lot of people got involved in it, politicians that screwed it up, right? Because you can go get whatever you want. I didn't have an education. I didn't have the name of a family. I didn't have the financial backing of a family. Neither did this one, but we desire to want more. And that's what's out there for you. If you're allowed it, go get it. So I want to preach that, I want to preach that to a lot of people. So, that's me.
That's you.
Now you're leading a company of we're going to hit 1,000 employees next year.
It's crazy,
and you're leading. And when you say fall forward and focusing on the losses, you do that in such a positive way. Whether it's with our business or with dealing with cancer, or with family, or just being a mentor and a leader for Kim and I. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, and it's a special day for us as a company. It's every day special to us that I wake up and get to come in here and work beside my beautiful wife every day and work beside you and work beside some of the greatest talent that we have. And everyone that seems like they work for us has a story.
Yeah.
And I love that,
That's beautiful.
When you have negatives in your life, those are the ones that you can really, if you can hone in on that can drive you to who you are today. And it's such an advantage. So, hey, thank you guys. I appreciate you listening to that boring part of our life, but I hope it inspires others that you don't have to have everything given to you and you can go get what you want. So, hey, go like our podcast. If you want any more details about myself or Justin or Kim, please reach out in comments and we'll reach right back out to you and give you more. But thank you again for watching this, and see you soon, guys. Thanks.